because there's so many that I want to bury. There's just so many. I'm working on my every game I played from 2022 list, and it feels like half my list is the scrap bin. Last but not least, Alex.
Least but least.
It is that time of year.
It is the beginning of the year.
It is the beginning of the year. And because of that, we look back on the old year and we play Save, Bury, Reboot.
We die and fires get born of fire.
That's not really what happens during Save, Bury, Reboot. I'm sorry.
I tried. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. Anyway, yeah, we're going to play Save, Bury, Reboot. And for those of you who don't know how Save, Bury, Reboot works, it's actually pretty simple. We take some games, and we decide which one we are going to save as it is in perpetuity throughout the universe, which one we are going to bury in the desert along with E.T., and which one we would like to see a reboot of because it seemed like a good idea, but it was not executed very well as an idea. So, the way we're framing it, just to make it real easy on us today, and boy, I like when we make it easy on ourselves, is we're talking specifically about games we have played this year. It doesn't have to be a game that came out this year, but games that we played this year. So, that being said, I usually like to start with saves. And I suppose I could go first. And what do I want?
Sure.
What do I want to save this year?
Probably Coral Island.
No. If anything, that would probably end up in my reboot category, just because it's not really complete yet. It's not there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna do it, and I'm just gonna say that my save is just gonna be Vampire Survivors. And the reason I'm gonna say Vampire Survivors is I don't know how they would ever make a reboot or a better version of it. It just kind of is the way it was supposed to be in the most pristine form up at the front. The general idea that they had here was just straight up one mechanic, you move. That's it. It's as simple a concept as anything. It's like the Go or chess of like a video game, where it's like you just don't need to refine that. It's a pretty simple, straightforward group of rules, and then you just have this like non-stop jackpot machine of constant upgrades and variables that make every run change continuously. I was fascinated to find out, too, little tidbit, that the person who actually like made the game had previously worked in like casinos making the games and stuff. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Apparently that's why they came up with the idea. But yeah, I find myself go back to that occasionally, play through a little bit, unlock some new stuff, get new characters, combine different skills together, and yeah, I don't see there's really no notes. Vampire Survivor ended up being everyone's surprise hit for the year, and I think I'm good with that.
Oh,
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So now it would be the time that you talk.
Oh, great. I guess for 2022, I would save, and it didn't come out in 2022 either. It's been out for a few years now. But I would probably say the game I would save is No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Not only was it one of the games I played the most of in 2022, I think I played 19% of my playtime on Steam is 2022 is my top played game of the year.
Yes.
But you know, they consistently are still doing updates, fairly large updates, and the expeditions. It's not a perfect game, obviously. It still has some stuff here and there that's getting worked out and ironed out, and they're still making it a better game and improving it as they go on, which is fantastic.
Sure.
And since none of the updates have been things you pay for, it's really nice that they're still doing that.
Yes.
Since their launch was so problematic, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas say Cyberpunk already has, I believe, DLC coming out.
Yes.
No Man's Sky is like, yeah, we're still just gonna update this for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I there are times I just kind of go back to it and just want to, either explore space or build a base or do stuff with the creatures or just kill some sentinels,
Sure.
So it's one of those things where you can just kind of hop back in and be like, all right, what am I doing? Where am I going?
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you want to take part in the expeditions, which are like seasons for that, if you've tried that.
No.
You have goals and you have a set period of time to do it, and they have different themes. I think it's great. I think it's obviously a sleeper hit now because it took so long to get it to the point where it's like really good. But I would definitely I would save that. I think I'll play it again at some point. I haven't in a little while, but
yeah, I mean, No Man's Sky is just one of those interesting things where it went from being this very maligned game for reasons that were, valid, to being one of those surprisingly lauded games for the fact that they kept going back and constantly building upon it. And I think that deserves credit. I don't think that anyone's disparaging it for Hello Games actually went and did the work. And as all free updates too, so I think they wanted to have a redemption story, they got the redemption story. So let's do reboot, because berries are usually good for the end. What do I want to do for a reboot?
You're rebooting it.
Yeah, what am I gonna reboot? I don't want to do one that just came out this year. I'd like to do something that's a little bit older. I'm gonna say Grim Dawn. We were just talking about Grim Dawn. I think that Grim Dawn has a really interesting world. I think that it when I first got into Grim Dawn, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is like a hack and slash action RPG, top down view, whole deal, but it is kind of like dirty and everything's on fire and there's monsters coming out of all sorts of places, and I'm using my guns and I'm shooting things left and right. It's really neat. It's really neat. But it also becomes kind of repetitive and frustrating pretty quickly when you start to get into these areas where you're like, I got to figure out ways to deal with the fact that everything's a melee combatant when I'm a ranged person. That seemed to be one of the biggest problems here. And just they'll put you in very tight spaces with long range capabilities. And I found that really odd. It felt like the game was specifically trying to get me to build in a certain way with certain things by the framework.
Just some of the frameworks were a bit...
Yeah.
I agree. Like the constellations, a bit overwhelming. Neat in concept, but also trying to find out where you want to go with it. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the map also could be a little difficult to traverse. It was a little tricky to figure out, as certain places open up because you get enough resources, you keep wondering, am I supposed to actually go this way yet? Until you run into enemies that seem like you definitely shouldn't have done that. And
I definitely had a point in time where I didn't know where the heck I was supposed to be going.
Yeah.
The direction, the story was kind of meh.
Yeah. It can be. It definitely can be. I was more taken by the gameplay of it, but I did find that guns with the rolling and dodging of trying to get out of melee is not really all that fun. I've seen that in a lot of games where they kind of do the action RPGs thing with the guns, and it never seems to work out well for me. It was one of the weaker points of a Remnant, so that would be my reboot. Did you have one?
Yeah, I think if I were to reboot a game, again, not a game that came out last year, but I did play some of it last year, I would probably say EVE Online.
Okay, yeah, EVE Online is one of those games that feels too large for me to even start to deal with.
There's a
So,
lot. I feel like it's definitely dated at this point because it did come out like what 20 years ago maybe.
yeah.
And like it's updated a lot since then, but I don't think it's updated in the ways that it needs to.
Okay.
It still operates functionally with like contextual menus, drop downs, and just a lot of wonky ways that it works.
Okay.
Some of it's cool, obviously, and I want to like it. Being a space sim that you can do pretty much a lot in, I enjoy that, but just a lot of the ways the systems are built out and you operate them aren't intuitive or are just not really engaging in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, because I like the concept or the promise of EVE Online, but I guess I felt like it looked like it was going to be a slow burn to the point that it would burn so slowly that I'd get bored.
Yeah, it's a slog.
It is a slog. There was another game too. I don't know if you ever played, but Star Trek Online kind of had like the big, massive multiplayer sort of game world, but it was also a space game. That I feel moves a little bit faster, but then again, we were talking about No Man's Sky a second ago.
Yeah.
And No Man's Sky is this gigantic universe too, but it always feels like there's stuff to do. And it moves fast.
even if it feels like you're doing the same thing, you actually feel like you're doing something because you're going from system to system, leaving a trail of explored places that you feel like you've explored because, a lot of the time you are the first person to have set foot on this planet and catalog that system.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept. I would have liked to get into it, but I just know that's going to be a time suck for me. So, okay, so we get on to Barry because there's so many that I want to bury. There's just so many. I'm working on my every game I play from 2022 list, and it feels like half my list is the scrap bin list, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. While you do this, I have to look at my Steam replay.
Oh yeah, because you've probably see the thing is I have so many different places I play games that I can't figure them all out. I would normally just say Diablo Immortal just as a layup because I definitely did not like that game. There were some others that would probably be spicier takes, but I'm not going to get into them right now. There was, however, one game that came out toward the beginning of the year, and I played it more recently. And I realized that there's basically no redeeming value to it. So I'll use that, and it's called Shredders. And Shredders is a snowboarding game.
Oh, okay, I guess that's fair. You do shred. Yeah, I'm looking at this because I played 49 games last year. So.
Oh yes, yeah. Go take a gander there. I should have done that for my Steam because actually Shredders I played on Xbox. But so here's the thing. I like extreme sports games. I know that might not seem apparent when you look at me, but SSX, Tony Hawk, great stuff, love them. Have always been a fan of those series. Shredders is like if you took everything that was good about SSX and you got rid of that, you just get rid of all of the fun stuff, and then you say just put your generic, snowboarder on a hill. You complicate the controls a little bit, make it really difficult for people to, figure out the basic layout of grinding a rail or something like that, make them do it over and over again without being able to get out of the tutorial, and then just have the laziest storyline cutscenes, character. I swear when I started this game, there's like the text that's on the screen about like, hey, this snowboarder is gonna be a YouTube star. What's up, YouTube? And the voice acting, I think that they recorded it on a cell phone or something, and I don't know what happened. But none of it made any sense to me, and I was so I felt sad because when I was playing it, I was like, this is worse than the SSX game that got released like 7 years ago, and it doesn't even look as good. It's just so that's one of those cases where there's just nothing redeeming to it that I could ever recommend, and there are way better games that are in the same genre that do far more. And all you're really doing in the game is doing, your basic, straightforward snowboarding down a hill that you have to, hit specific goals for every single time. If you go to an SSX or anything like that, they really, make pronounced mountains and, actual features of going through ice caves and stuff. And it's like, it feels much more epic. And there's a soundtrack to it. There's something really to it. In this, it's just blaring at you nonstop. And it's actually more annoying than anything else. So I'd like to get rid of shredders, please. Make it go away. Alex, have you looked through your Steam?
I did.
Perfect.
And I think the game I want to bury is going to be a hot take.
Great. What are we burying?
But it's a free game, so I didn't pay for it at least.
Good.
But I would like to forever bury in the ground Ark Survival Evolved.
That does not surprise me.
I tried playing it.
Oh, I know.
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was barely any tutorial. It didn't I think we talked about this a bit.
Yeah.
There was no tutorial. It didn't make a lot of sense. It was harder than it needed to be, and I understand that's the fucking point. But also, seriously.
Yeah.
The maps were strange. The dinosaurs were lots. You died easily. You walked in water and got eaten by piranhas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't even touch the water when I tried playing Ark. I was
Yeah,
like,
it was
I just
just-
know that that's going to be a bad time.
Yeah, it was just this is a survival game to make you hate yourself. And it's I'm already iffy on a lot of games that are just survival games for survival's sake. But
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs, I guess, are cool. Survival games can be interesting, but punishing is not what I want when I play games, so...
Yeah. There's a segment that I'm hoping we do in the next couple episodes that's going to be great games that we didn't like, where we just get to do hot takes on popular stuff. But I don't know if, Ark would even really be considered great in a lot of people's minds. Maybe for survival fans, possibly. I know that there's a few other games, Conan Exiles was in that same genre, and I could get rid of that in a heartbeat, but I know that there are some people that will never stop playing it. So I think it takes a very specific kind of person to play something like an Ark. So we're going to bury Ark. Actually, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because Ark has all the dinosaurs, and we just buried the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I'm trying to get those fossil fuels.
Exactly. If we bury them in Ark, we get more petroleum. That's how it works. For anyone listening out there, what was your Save, Bury, and Reboot games for the year? I'd be interested to know what you played and how you liked it. Or apparently didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.